All right. Shalom, everybody. Welcome. We'll say shalom.
Shalom.
All right. We're excited to come here as a family, united today. And we have on the Honorable Maya as always. Real quick, we'll go ahead and say a quick prayer. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer. And it's in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect tonight's message. Amen. Uh, Amen. So, welcome to everybody. We appreciate you. Thank you for being on. Um, as always, tonight, as always, is the Honorable Maya, Mr. Solomon, Prince Solomon, and myself. We are, I guess, first family, if you will, I don't know, but over servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being the voice of the voices and speaking the unspoken. And we appreciate you guys' presence today. Come on in, come on in. As always, we give hola, mi nombre es Kofi, ¿cómo está? Bonjour. Well, I'm sorry. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. Yeah. Solomon, yeah. Maya, I don't know how you would say it en français. Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi.
Bonsoir, je m'appelle Maya, il s'appelle Kofi, et lui, c'est Solomon.
Ça va? Prayerfully, ça va? Ça va bien? Prayerfully. Thank you for being on. Kamsamida. Ni hao, namaste, osayo, ohio. I see you. Aqua Abba, at the Saint. Habari, Jambo, mimi ni Kofi, ninafuraha kukutana na wewe. Shalom, kwam yashala tada. Barak Allah atam yachava anai Kofi at Maya at Solomon. And we're welcome. We thank you guys for being on today. And we're going to talk today as a family a little bit about a state of emergency. Or we're in a state of emergency, and based upon different things that keep going on and some of the recent, just I guess we call them crimes, or I'm gonna be a little lenient with my words tonight since we have Sir Solomon joining us, but yeah, just different things that have been going on in the community, and we just wanted to kind of talk about a state of emergency. So, did you want to kind of start off on why we were led to even talk about this, or some things on your heart? Or?
Yeah, well, so I woke up today, and ended up looking at yet another killing, another homicide at the hands of the police of a young black man. And I was reading the article kind of matter of factly, and it just hit me, and like my eyes started burning, and I could feel like I was like holding back the tears, and then finally the tears started running, and they started kind of giving me some relief and cooling my eyes, but then I was kind of just sobbing like a baby, like, here we go again. Here's another one, yet another one of someone killed worse than a dog would be killed on the street. In fact, if it was a dog killed this way, there'd be protests. Somebody would pay. Somebody's head would roll right now if a dog was um, in an accident. Then instead of receiving help, was held down by its captors and repeatedly tased while yelping for help. Now, if that were a dog, there would be, mass uproar right now. But since it was a black man, it's kind of like, a news story, maybe. And the reason why he's getting the coverage that he's getting is because he's the cousin, or he was the cousin of the founder of Black Lives Matter. His name was Keenan Anderson. He was only 31 years old. He was a husband and a father and a teacher of high school students. This was a man who was trying to do something to better himself, better the community, and looking out for other people. Yet he gets in an accident. He knows the signs of when, police are going to escalate force, and he's trying to figure out how to survive. So, he gets in an accident. He keeps being apologetic. He acquiesces to what they've asked him to do. He's sitting on the sidewalk instead of them, getting him medical attention for being in a auto collision, just a regular routine traffic collision. The police, call for backup, and you know uh, go on to hold the man down to the ground with his so the police officer put his knee on the man's neck and on his back so that he couldn't breathe. And Keenan actually yelled out that they're trying to George Floyd me. They're trying to George Floyd me. Help. He kept screaming help. And it just, I at some point I had to stop reading, and it just hurt. And I was like, this just hurts. And nobody deserves to die like that. No, like, I don't understand what anybody could even do to deserve something like that. So, you know, I feel like we're still in this state of emergency, and the names have become so many that it's almost like being desensitized. And I thought I was almost desensitized as I was reading through it, and I wasn't really having a reaction, just reading it just to see what happened. And the more I read, the more it just like hit me that, oh my goodness, they're tracking people down in the streets like this. And apparently, because his cousin is the head of Black Lives Matters, he knows how a traffic collision works. And apparently, I think it was like 3,000 people have been killed in LA during routine traffic stops. Like, somebody uh, gets stopped for a traffic light, someone gets in a car accident, but instead of going home to their family and reporting to their insurance, they end up dead.
Yeah, and those are things that we have to be aware of, even in this state. Solomon, what do you think that when I say the word, or mom says the word emergency, what does that mean to you? If there's something that's an emergency, what does that mean?
That someone needs help.
And someone needs help. And so if we're saying that we are in a state of emergency, or we're having an emergency, what does that mean?
We need help, and something is happening very badly.
Mm-hmm. So if something's happening very badly, and it's happening over and over again, um, we should probably do something about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we've come to discuss. And even if because the state of emergency, as I was thinking about this, one of the things that happened as I was thinking about, you guys know how I am with words, so I started mulling around the words, and I started thinking about it. About, first of all, the word emergency. If I were to take the NC off and just say emerge, um, literally, if you emerge into something, or something is emerged in something, we think of it as being basically buried or thrown in, and because this is not our system. And I think that's something that really, as I was praying about it, thinking about it, I was putting together some stuff. Sir Solid got something to look at the stars with, and so I was sitting there putting his telescope together, and I started thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, like we're literally emerged in something. And then I thought about the word state, and the word state means government, or to govern. So we're governed by something that we're emerged in, and we have no business, or at least we wish we had, right? But we really have no business being part of this. We have no business. I remember even Solomon, when he's 3-4 years old, in the back of the car, and when we see police lights, whether it was behind us or behind somebody else, he already knew. It's so much we're in it that it's already known that that's an emergency, even if it's not supposedly for us. We already have. What do you say?
They already know if it's an emergency or there's something bad going on.
My heart skips a beat whenever I see police or police lights, like, and let alone being pulled over. Like, being pulled over is like a trepidatious, like, oh my goodness, are we gonna make it back home type of thing? Praying, just praying before we get on the road, praying when we're on the road, um, hoping that we go, we make it safely, not because of any like hazard or anything like that really so much on the road, but because predators are treating us as some type of prey.
Yeah, and here's the wild part about it. As I was thinking about it as well earlier, the Holy Spirit brought to my attention that what is a state of emergency to one person is not a state of emergency to another. And so in this, well, I guess we're focusing hyper centralized thought on the United States corporation tonight, but in this country, everybody's not in a state of emergency. And that's when you have to be careful. I'm not saying we can't have any kind of allyship or whatever, but that's when you have to be careful about some of these words that are tossed around, because somebody, if it's not your people, it is not really an emergency for you because you're not immersed in it. It's like when our sisters try to tell us what they're going through, and my wife could tell me stuff, and there's points in my life probably where I was like not really getting it, but I'm not immersed in it. It's not something that governs my actions. So if I'm not careful, I think I'm there for her, right? But I'm not really, immersed in it until you empathize and you can even spiritually, psychologically, even emerge in something. Or what I'm saying basically is like,
Yes, sir.
When my mom said like these people are treating us like we are some type of prey, I'm like, they are taking us like we're prey.
Mm-hmm. What is prey?
Like it's animals for their prey.
Right. So a hunter, an animal that's a hunter is gonna hunt prey, and so they treat us like prey because in this country, unfortunately, we weren't really thought of as human beings. We still aren't, and so it's easy. You're right.
Yeah.
So it's easy for people to still treat us the way we've always been treated. Once again, like this is not a new state, if you will. This is not a new country. I'm sorry.
I was saying Billy Ray Valentine said it sounds like King Herod strikes again. And that goes to what you're saying. It's not new. This is not
right.
new.
Yeah, it's not something. This is not something that's new, and it's important that we get that, because one of the things that needs to become new, even though this is not new, is we need to start saying separate. Like before, you were forced to separate, and you actually had less issues in separation. Believe it or not, it's only when somebody saw what you had and you didn't know how to protect yourself, or you tried to or you were forced even into integration, and people don't like that part of the conversation, but the reality is that this is not a new state. This is not a new governing way of governing us as a people. And we've been immersed in this for far too long. So how do you get out of something you're immersed in? You pull yourself out.
So Davey Boy, to your question, basically what we're talking about tonight is the state of emergency, the violence that is being perpetrated on people by the police, especially people of color, Black people, Israelite people, our people, and how it makes us feel, and how this is not something new, but this is just like an ongoing issue that you think you've kind of gotten past it for a second, and then you wake up to news of a young man, 31 years old, a teacher, a father, a husband, someone who's trying to better his community, who is basically tased to death on the sidewalk in broad daylight because he got in a traffic collision. And he was very apologetic and kept saying he was sorry, but that he needed help. And instead of getting help, he kept getting repeatedly tased until he basically had a heart attack and died.
Mm-hmm. So in this state, and really, so once again, even when we talk about getting out of it, once again, as I was saying, like, so how do you get from being immersed in something? You got to come out. And then here's the next part. Once you come out, because a lot of people say, well, the curse is done, or you're still talking about something that's old, or this and that. But the problem is, even when you come, so let's say you're emerged, let's say there's a state of emergency, you're emerged in quicksand, or I forget what they call the mud that's quicksand, but basically the same thing. When you come out, what's one of the things you have to do? You have to clean yourself off. And because if those of you who've been to the beach, this one knows for sure, he loves to get sand in every place imaginable. And so, but you have the residue, right? You can still, like, if you're not careful, you can sit and still be sitting in sand. If you're not careful, you can you can still be walking, and your now stuff is chafing against you, so to speak, right? You still have the residue that's there. It still affects you, even if you've been released. And so, yeah, this is something we shouldn't necessarily have to, in a normalcy in our culture, we shouldn't have to teach our children this. Like, even if you go to Africa, you get stopped. You go to certain places, you get stopped. I remember having this since first time saw police officers at I forget what you would call it. I guess what is it, where they stop you, whatever, every few times or whatever, and they ask for your ID and all that. And my heart is beating, but all they did was like, oh, okay, thank you. And you just keep moving, right? It was something for security. It wasn't something against your people over there. You're one of them. So why would they even be worried about you like that. They just literally have to check you because it was something that they had there to make sure, just in case something, because in the area we were in, nothing really even pops off. But they, every once in a while, to just make sure that people see they're doing what they're supposed to, they make sure that their presence is known. Over here, though, there's hunting once again, like Solomon was talking about, being prey, and and so that's something that we have to get out of. We have to start cleaning. The word clean, even in our culture, right? It means to be lawful or to be legal. And so one of the things that we've done that emerged us in it was getting away from law. One of the things that messed us in it, messed us up with it, was a checkpoint. That's what the word I was looking for. But one of the things that happened when we didn't obey the Bible, we didn't obey the law, we didn't teach it to our children, and we told our children, yeah, be in their school system, do this. Like, if you just get the degree, everything's going to open up for you. If you just act correctly, if you just obey the law, if you make sure that you put your hand, like I still do all that stuff too, and they still, like, sometimes they're like trying to prod you, right? Like, put your hand at 10 and 2 and make sure that you have your ID. Like, this is what we were taught from when I was little. Like, have your ID in the dashboard and make sure you're never seen reaching over into the glove compartment. And when they come over, already have the window open. Make sure the music is already turned down. Make sure everything is yes, sir, no, sir. Let them inspect your vehicle, even though they have no right to do it, if you just let them do that. And here was a person who broke no law and
followed all the rules.
And followed all the rules. And this is a thing that's over and over again. And so our goal, that's what we're seeing, that staying in the system, we're trying to get voted in the system. We're trying to change it from within. It doesn't work the same way. You had something? I'm sorry. You had something? You forgot. I went too long.
Well, so last night,
I'll come right back to you.
Solomon and I were at the store, and there was a book called Scared in America. And Solomon was like, why would they have a title like that? America's not scary. And I was like, actually, America is kind of scary. Shootings in schools, students shooting teachers probably shooting students. A 6-year-old last week shot his teacher. Children what do you prepare children with when you have to tell them that they may have to exit the school in an emergency because somebody's going to be shooting at them? Like, how do you prepare somebody for that? Telling people, oh, you can't drive down the street because you may get stopped by the police and you might not make it home. Like, that sounds pretty scary. It sounds like a horror movie. It sounds like, alternate reality. If you're from another country, this probably sounds terrifying to you, that someone gets stopped by the police and then they don't make it home. Or someone goes to school, thinking they're just going to have an ordinary day and watch multiple of their classmates or teachers be gunned down. Like, America is pretty scary.
And when you saw the title of that book that said, that America was scary, how did it make you feel? What did you think when you first saw the book?
It had a character from a scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it had smoke all around the thing because I already know who the character was.
Mm-hmm. And so that character, whatever that character, is designed to make people scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you read that book, it's probably supposed to make you scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and so some of these things you don't know because we do homeschool you. So there's a word called sheltered. It means that, like, we protect you from certain things. Mm-hmm. So there's things that you're not aware of, but they happen all the time. Like, you're not, like, there's people when they go to school, they have to do drills. They call them drills, where they have to practice not if somebody starts shooting. Mm-hmm. Like, that sounds dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm. But excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff of getting tortured with black people getting tortured, mm-hmm. It was because of the white people were not liking it because they had literally curses.
Because we had curses on us and they mm-hmm. participated in the curses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so and so that's one of the things, though. So if we can, so here's a rule of thumb, or that, I'm sorry, I should actually get away from using that term I just learned. But here's a rule to go by. Like, if you're dealing in curses, the people who carry the curses, they're going to have to break them, and we can. So look, we can break them. It's not a thing.
But we have to find out how to break them.
Well, we know how. You know how? When you get up every rising and we say read your scripture, that's the law. If we obey the law and we learn even the laws of the land, if we know how to separate ourselves and how to be private, that means to come out of these things. The Bible says stuff like be in the world, that means system. So be in the system, but not of it, right? And so we have this opportunity too, to where we can realize the state that we're in. If we're in the land of our captivity, that's a state, but we don't have to stay emerged. It doesn't have to be our emergency. CY just basically means literally that we're in the state of. So literally like the state of emergency, we could literally just say emergency even means state of emergency. And we have a chance to be able to pull ourselves out. So that's why when people come on, oh, you're talking about this and, you guys can't do stuff on your own. No, actually, we prefer at this point. We've seen being attached to you. The NAACP has had Rothschilds and stuff in front of it, but wasn't until last year that for the first time they actually had an actual colored person over the NAACP, like stuff like that. It makes you realize that the state, it's not even like when you see these things. At one point, they were keeping us in the state, or we didn't know that we were in the curses. But now that we realize these things, it comes to a place to where you pull yourself out.
I mean, it's a lot. Like, and I think the fear, the trauma, like this rising, I was traumatized by this story just yet again. Like it felt like the wounds had kind of started to scab over, and healing and trying to move forward and trying to be positive. And then you wake up to Keenan Anderson, 31 years old. What was his crime? Nothing. No crime.
But he did nothing wrong.
Yeah, he did nothing wrong. He woke up, he was on his way to somewhere, he got in an accident, and they don't even talk about in the news story what happened to the other person that he got into collision with. But this man is now dead. 31 years old. Somebody's left without a father, somebody's left without a husband, and a whole bunch of children who were looking up to him are left without a teacher. So like, and his family, I don't even know what they're going through, but like the pain, the pain is real. Like my eyes were burning from it.
The pain is real, but do you want to know why your eyes were burning?
Why?
Because you were seeing like something like the torture from our black people, going back from the years before.
And that's the DNA memory, that's the spirit, those are curses and things. And so once again, we have to start making decisions, and quickly, really, because the time has come, and now there is really where we can either decide to keep being in a place to where, once again, it's not a state of emergency. It takes me back to something that we finished in a couple series ago, when we were dealing with the Song of Degrees series. And Psalm 123 verse 4, it says that people are at ease with your being scorned. So people are literally at ease. Like, blackface came about because having a black person in dark face actually made them laugh and how ridiculous it was. And so it made them at ease. And then when white people decided to put on blackface, it was funny. It was something that puts you at ease. And so even the torture or the scorning or the state of emergency, it actually is not, once again, it's not a state of emergency for everybody. Just like we talk about the Bible in this culture is not for everybody. It's not everybody's state of emergency. It's not everybody's curse. It's not everybody's burden. They have things called the white man's burden. They have things called manifest destiny. They have things called Darwinism. They have things called, drapetomania. They have things like that, the Casual Killing Act. These are all, like, think about that, the Casual Killing Act, which is an act, and I'll try to make sure my language is not too strong, but Casual Killing Act, to where literally young prisoners of war could be offed because so many white women were doing it, because they were upset about seeing all these children out there that were fathered by their husband. So they literally made a law, and they literally called it the Casual Killing Act. Like, you could casually, as long as, hey, you could say that child was being disobedient, that slave was doing this, they had the right to protect their own. See, that's when it became a state of emergency, when it made their own look bad. Not even, they didn't consider it to be bad, but that hey, this kind of makes us look bad, so let's make this written out where everybody understands this is something that is casual. This is casually done. This is a normalcy. And so, things like that have existed. Once again, draper demanding, what does that mean? If somebody tries to escape from slavery, they are literally considered to be insane by their psychology. So we have to come out of that. In this system, that's what this is, and that's in this system, it's Freudian. This system is dealing in those things. And so we have to make a decision, and in this state, in this thing that's governing us, do we want to remain emerged in it, or what are the steps that are going to take next, whether it be YLP 83, whether it be us when we're going to start coming together more, being on some of these things that making sure that we're checking on one another. Stuff like this should remind us, hey, check on one another, or where are you going, or hey, let me make sure I go somewhere with you. Or it's unfortunate we have to think like that, but that's the system we're in. And the goal is to start coming out of it, one at a time, one person at a time if necessary, or those who are ready to go, let's go. Let's get this together, supporting each other's business, so you don't have to go to certain people who could possibly do things, even business wise to you and things. So I mean, this is a yet another life. And in all honesty, let's just keep it 100. There's probably a bunch more that have happened in the last 24 hours that nobody's going to talk about at all. And people are going to say, well, see, that's you guys, black on black crime, blah blah, whatever. But once again, it's not their whatever they can do to get the burden of proof off of them, the state of emergency off of them, or even the blood off their hands, so to speak, to pull the Pontius Pilate, I wash my hands clean of this. You guys hung yourself. You guys did this. That's the mentality. It's Greco-Roman mentality. So,
yeah, I mean, like, so this is the headline here. I don't know if you can see it.
Probably on TikTok.
What's going on here? It says, teacher and cousin of Black Lives Matter founder tased to death by LAPD. And, I was thinking, oh, he's getting played. But I'm like, why am I upset at him for getting played for being, the Black Lives Matter cousin, when the man is dead? Like, he didn't do anything wrong. And the only reason why he's getting news coverage is because his cousin is a founder of Black Lives Matter. And who knows, like Pastor said, who else died yesterday or today, just trying to get home. And
that means his cousin, or people who work with his cousin, probably are the only reason why it's there. They were in a position to be able to get the right news packet or whatever together, just so that people would read about it. So it's not even that somebody else wanted to do it, is that they had the connection, they had the authority, they had the resource, so even in that regard, it shows a different place.
Like, I mean, every time something like this happens, it takes me to a place of almost like despair and just like this utter sadness. And I start praying and I'm praying and I'm like, oh, whenever you were saying that you were going to go out for a minute, I was just praying and praying and praying, like, oh my goodness, let him come home, let him be okay, watch over him. Praying for this man's family, praying for our people, like, please, Lord, like, just allow them to get home safely today. Like, when I see somebody pulled over on the side of the road, the trauma hits me again, and I start praying or recording or trying to do whatever I can do to help these people. Like, oh my goodness, I hope they make it home. I hope they make it home. And it shouldn't be like that. The police are public servants. They're not, we're not public enemy number one. We're not, what do we do? Yeah, what do we do to have a target on us like that?
But because who we are, and that's they know what's there, and you becoming who you are is now that's when we talk about curses. If we reverse our curse, then that's a curse to their system. So once again, now we're flipping it. If it was a state of emergency for us and we're coming out and we're saying we don't need you, we don't have to have police, which literally come from policy, people that work for policy, policy, policia, I don't know how you say in Francais, police, if they probably have another word, I don't know, police. But they do? Okay, so same thing, policy, polls, opinions, same thing, capitalism. Capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics, polls, policy, and economics are used to control traded industry. That's traded industry wielded by private corporations who have owners for profit and not by the state. So even the state that we're in, once again, we got to look at who it represents. And that's why you can have somebody that looks like us on the police force, somebody that looks like us in the military, somebody who looks like us as a mayor, as a vice president, or as the president, or whatever. We've had Eisenhower before we had Obama. We had Lincoln before we had them. And yet what happened? Who do they work for? What is the president's number one goal? What is their number one responsibility? A president's number one responsibility is always to make sure they preserve the union. And the union was built on you being non-human. And we don't think about that. We just go, oh, things have changed. No, like technology has changed. And sure, you don't have to work on the plantation because the plantation is now virtual. You can be virtually in the plantation, or you can be in jail and still pick cotton. You can still go up to upstate New York. As much as everyone talk about the South, you can go up to Sister Linda, taught me that when I started talking to her and teaching her stuff. And she started telling me that she didn't realize when she talked to me, like she was a white woman who had grown up and apparently had grown up, with modern day slaves, with sharecroppers in the 50s and 60s, and had no idea till we started mentioning certain things. She was like, oh, I remember this black guy, and he's just living in like a shack almost the size of basically a nice outhouse size. And that was what he had. And he had to stay there until he could make enough money to hopefully take care of his bills and things like that. So, we keep saying these things, but once again, here's the thing that's happening is that we are realizing that we don't have to depend on their system. And that's when the state of emergency flips. Why is it that they're saying they need to stop abortions all of a sudden? State of emergency. Even though they've had so many abortions, even though they've hung us from trees, even though they've done certain things that are disgusting, we're still here. I was watching something today, and I already knew the answer, but it was interesting. I was just watching. I forgot for a second. So they asked, what is the number one killer of black people?
What's that?
And I started thinking to myself, okay, number 3 is the medical malpractice. And I was like, okay, is it diabetes? Is it smoking? Is it heart disease? And everybody kept saying the same thing. Nobody would say the answer. And I knew it, but I've kind of forgot because I was just listening to our people. It was our people being interviewed. They kept saying those same 3-4 things. And then the guy finally said, and then at the end, last guy he talked about, he said, no, number one killing of black people is abortion.
Wow.
And he said there's more of our children that will be aborted in a year than died in I think the Civil War, but he said the Vietnam War. Wow. He said if you take the whole Vietnam War together and you put all of us that died in that, he said that there's going to be more of us that die in 1 year because we even have a state that we're emerged in, a state of emergency where we don't even think about that.
Well, and then the abortion goes back to the country being like spiritually birthed on the blood, sweat, and tears of black people. Like these are sacrifices to Moloch, and it's upholding the condition that got us in the curses in the first place. And even the mindset to think that, because I used to not think that abortion was murder. I used to not think that. I used to think, oh well, it's a social issue, and it's because this, it's because that, and I had so many excuses for why Democrats are right and abortion should be legal and it's helpful to women, not thinking about the deeper implications of it and who it upholds, like who our suffering upholds. Like no, I had never really thought about who our suffering upholds. And like Pastor said, once we start flipping and getting away from the system that is putting us in a state of emergency, it then turns the tables, and then the oppressor becomes in the state of emergency to maintain the system. And
So watch this. This is a state of emergency. We've emerged so much in this that babies have more sense than us sometimes than we do, right? Watch this. Solomon, well, he's not a baby, but you know what I'm saying. Solomon, if there's a human being inside a woman and they haven't been born yet, what do you call it? A human being inside of a mother.
A born baby.
A baby or an unborn baby, but it's a baby, right?
Yes.
See, now, why would you say it's a baby? It's not born yet. Why is it a baby?
because it needs to get out.
But why is it a baby though? Why would you say it's a baby? You don't have to give me. There's no such thing as the right answer. Just answer how you feel. Why do you think it's a baby?
Because it's little.
Because it's little. Is it alive?
Mhm.
Is it a human being?
Mhm.
Okay. Now see something like that. They
It's
condition us
to argue
to
over.
argue over that. Now the child is like, well, why wouldn't that be a baby? But we listen to somebody else say, oh no, that's like a fetus. You don't even know what a fetus
It's
is.
an
Either.
embryo. It's
It's
a
an embryo. You don't even
fetus.
know what an embryo is.
Mm-mm.
See, like we have to teach this. We have to like at some point he's going to have to learn that this is not a child, which is wild because it is a child, it's a baby. Like, but we the I don't want to say it. Well, I'm gonna say it bluntly, the way maybe my father's mother would have said. Like, you know, the bigger we get, the dumber we get, because we listen to all these people tell us this stuff, and it's like we got far
it's not
far
wrong.
away. You know, like it's
Not
you know,
wrong.
like so it's you know, the baby's breathing, the baby has a heartbeat, the baby, and when it's born, you're going to call it a baby, but for some reason, it's not a baby until. But why? Once again, we're in a state of emergency. We've emerged so much in this state of consciousness, or maybe even unconsciousness, where we're in a daydream.
Well, it's like my grandma used to call it educated fools. Like, don't be so smart that you become dumb. Like, sometimes, being honest, I will map and navigate to random places, even back to the house. I will put in the navigation, even if I know the route, because I rely on my phone to get me to places. Because I'm like, oh, it'll give me the shortest route. It'll let me know if traffic is here. Like, whatever happened to just knowing your way to places and having to figure out the best route. Um, Tonight we were playing with my son's telescope. My Kofi put together a telescope for Solomon so we could look at the North Star, also called, what's the North Star called?
The Phoenician star.
The Phoenician Star, also called the Phoenician Star. So we were learning about the Phoenicians, and I was like, like that was over 3,000, almost 4,000 years ago that they were using. They were using the stars as maps. And I asked him, did they use their smartphone to get to places? He was like, no. He laughed at me. And I'm like, today, I don't know how many people could use the stars as a map to get to anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're supposed to be smarter, but yet it's like we
don't even know. We don't even know which way east, west, north, south is. I wasn't trying to do.
You're trying to put me out there.
No, well, you put yourself out there now. I wouldn't even say. But we don't think about those things because it's not normalcy. Yes, sir.
There was not phones in from a long time when black people were using boats, but they were wooden.
Mm-hmm. And they knew the stars. They knew the position of the sun. They knew even direction of wind. They could look at trees to be able to see what was growing on different parts of trees. And this is stuff that's become lost to us. But once again, when you're in a state of emergency, you emerge. See, when you emerge and stuff so much, like if you're like, think about this. If you were to be in the water and you've been holding your breath for a long time, what's the only thing you start thinking about?
Are people who got tortured.
If you're underwater in the pool.
If we were at the pool and you were holding your breath for a long time, what do you start thinking about doing? What do you need to do? What do you have to come up for? You need to come up and do what? What can't you do underwater that you can do above water? You just did it. You can breathe.
I can breathe.
Yes. So like when you get in a place of being immersed or an emergency where you're in such stuff, the only thing you even care about is breathing. And so you'll miss a lot of stuff. You'll miss you can be in the ocean and not even pay attention to a whale or to a dolphin or something like that.
I like what It's Time to Leave America said.
Vincent.
Vincent said we traded skills for tech.
Yeah. No trade. And literally traded trade, in a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that's become even the phenomenon in schools today where people are like, hey, nobody has trades. And then people are getting out here. It's like everybody wants office jobs, but nobody can work in the trade.
Trades are looked down on.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in high school and being offered to learn a trade and thinking, I'm above that, Whereas, a trade, I could have made money right out of high school. I could have done some while I was in high school. I know a girl who paid her way. She got her real estate license doing hair. which she went to beautician school in high school and paid for her real estate classes, and now she makes a lot of money doing real estate from hair she did. And it's still a valuable skill. She, of course, her hair always looks nice because she does hair, but I always look down on that because, having a skill, knowing how to live off the land used to be considered like, oh, like even to this day, if I tell somebody I'm going foraging, they pick on me. They'll just be like, oh, okay, and it's all good and it's all fun and games until, the grocery store is out of eggs. I went to the grocery store yesterday, the day before, a dozen eggs was nearly $8. Nearly $8. There, all the milk was sold out. Solomon's milk, the one he was looking for, was gone. I don't drink milk, but he likes to drink, cow's milk, and it was all gone. No milk. And this is just like random or ordinary. Like we traded skills, for tech. Like, but what does tech get us if we can't clothe ourselves, we can't feed ourselves, if we can't build ourselves a shelter? What is that?
Yeah,
Dre, you said you said it's $9 for a dozen eggs there. Oh my goodness!
Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say something and now.
Okay, well, all right.
Sorry,
well, how about this before you get on? Just calm down. All right. How about this? So, what are some things that we should know how to do that we don't need to use our phones for? What's some things that you should know how to do that you don't know how to use your phone for? Or if you would go out with mom in the woods or something, and what's some things you can do without a phone?
Explore the world.
Okay, what else can you do?
I can find places.
Okay, what else can you do in the woods with the plants? What can you do?
I can eat, like, if it was a strawberry plant, I could eat the berries off of it.
What about foraging? What is foraging?
Like storing food.
Storing food. Yep. So you know how to look at, so you can identify plants, right? Or you know what a oak leaf looks like, or a maple leaf looks like. You know what bark is. What's bark?
Bark is a thing that protects the tree.
And so there's certain bark you can eat, certain things you can't. You know how to pull things up to get to the root. You know what poison ivy is, so you don't get hurt, right? So those are things you can all do without a phone. There's a lot of people who are listening who are older than you that don't know how to do that. So those are things that like we weren't taught. At least I wasn't taught. Mom actually grew up a little bit around, so that I wasn't taught that stuff like pretty much at all. My grandmother, so your great grandmother, my mother's mother, the mother, the grandmother you didn't meet, her mother's mother knew how to do some of that stuff, but I never was taught. But you've been taught that stuff. So that's how you break the state of emergency. That's how we break the curse. We make sure we pass this stuff down. We have honest conversations. We some people on here saying how smart you are and stuff. You're so busy. Now you're there. You're missing.
What can you do with pine needles? What can you make?
You can make a tincture.
What else?
You can make a tea out of it.
What else?
You can make like some flavor out of it.
That's true.
And I didn't even know the flavor thing. See, so you even know things that I don't know. See, so things like that. When we start to learn those things and we start to pass it down, his state of thought, what he's emerged in, is different. So once again, what's an emergency for some is not an emergency to others. What an emergency even for our generation. We have an opportunity, to be the people who break some of these things off. And as we become code breakers, like that series we've been doing in the Rising, we can become curse breakers.
That's true, Gerald. I see Gerald said you can make bedding out of it. Never thought about that, but yeah, I guess you could. You pack enough of it together, you can make yourself a bed. Like you can put pine needles down, like all going in the same direction, or else they'd be pokey, and you could lay on them. Yeah, and they would protect you from the water because you know how pine needles, they don't stay wet. So you could build them up You could definitely do that.
Mhm.
And they keep the bugs off of you and
Or
things like
you
that.
can just make a floor out of it, so
You
the
could.
floor
Out of the tree
can-
part, yeah. Or the
doesn't
wood
get
part.
wet.
How much of the pine tree is edible? What does edible mean?
Like edible
Edible means what?
eating.
You can eat it, right?
Yes.
So how much of the pine tree is edible?
A lot of it.
All of it, right?
Yep, all of it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So see something like that, like those are things that are there, and people are saying they're proud of you and you're smart and all that thing. So stay tuned, just be patient. Here's your chance. But so these are things that are a state of emergency, and so what's going to be an emergency for some is not going to be an emergency for the next generation, and really not even for us. We have an opportunity to be able to break it, and here's the great part about it. So when we break it, then it means that those that came before us, it's no longer a state of emergency. What they had to go through it and be immersed in, we can pull themselves out, because as we go, so do they. And so that's even though we don't necessarily worship ancestors like some, maybe at the same time we respect them, because we are them and they are us eternally. So the state that we're in, it might be rough, it might be tough, it might look like it's going to be rough, but we have people such as young Solomon and others that are listening in. Some people I've been talking to today, I know your children watch and have even been telling you guys stuff that they've been learning, and they've been researching themselves even at young ages. So and telling you they're okay not doing holy days anymore before you even bring it to them. So they're learning, they're getting things that we didn't get, they're having tools that we don't have and that we don't connect to. And so we can see it, even in that. If you say I don't see a way out, I mean, I see it every day. I feel like I'm gonna be able to come out too. I'm claiming that too. I'm claiming my wife is coming out too in our family. But I look up in a sense in the future to Solomon, because he's going to stand on our shoulders. And so I have to look up to him. I might have to be strict with him now, but I'm never holding you down, because I'm always going to put you in a position where you're going to remember, what do we say? You're going to be what kind of father than me? You're going to be what to me as a father, as a man? You're going to be what? What do I say?
A good one.
Yeah, or better, right?
better.
Yeah, you're going to be better. So he's going to be better than I is. He's not going to make the same mistakes. He's going to know the word. He's going to know the truth. He's going to honor his wife at all times. He's going to know what a wife is and what a husband is before he would even think about marriage. He's going to already have those things together. And that's how we get out of this state. Once again, what is a state? The state is a government. So the state is what's governing us, and emergency is what we're emerged in. And we have a chance to get out. Yes, sir.
No.
I told you, think about it until it's your time. I was talking about a state of emergency or some of the government. I was talking about you being a better man than I am when you become a man.
No, I know.
Okay, so what was it?
I am growing.
You are growing. That's right. You're in training to be a man every day, right? And you're in training, like I said, to be better than your father, right? Now, I'm not going to stop training myself, so you have some work to do. But that means you're going to be way better than I was, and you do stuff now. Remember, I didn't go cross country in my entire life till I went with you. You went when you were 7, right? And before that, you were already doing stuff when you were 6, and you'd already been to Japan when you were still a baby. So you've been all over the place, and you're going to keep going all over the place.
Name 5 states that you've been to. I'm putting you on spot. Come on.
South America.
States, sir.
South America is a continent, right?
Oh,
states.
When you went across the country, 5 states.
Maryland,
okay.
Africa. Oh,
states.
Never mind.
No, continents.
We're going continents.
Relax.
Yeah. Okay, I put you on the spot. Don't worry.
Relax. What is the state? What is states in the country?
Yeah.
The United States of America.
Mariana.
Yeah, which state?
You put her name with the state together.
So you said Maryland. Where else?
Maryland.
Where else?
Miami. Oh.
Where is
what
Miami?
state is Miami in?
That's in Chicago.
No.
It's okay.
Calm down.
I put you on the spot. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe in and out. It's okay. You're doing well, sir.
Yeah.
You're doing well. Yeah, I saw you get nervous.
No, I do not know what I'm talking
No,
about.
you know
It's
what you
okay.
talk. Don't speak like that. You know what you talking
Thank you to
about. We
Maya.
all make mistakes.
She said that your son is so handsome. You say thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, you did well, sir.
Yeah.
It's all right. Relax a little
Miss
bit.
LeRae Owen said, proud of you, young man. You said thank you.
Thank you.
You can read what they're saying.
Yeah.
So there nobody in here saying you did anything wrong. So you do well. All right.
Thank you, Sister
Okay.
Betty. She said he's so adorable, and I can't wait to play swords again. Remember how we were in South Carolina when we met up with the SOT
I do
family?
not remember.
Now you don't. You just told me the other day. You told me you remember her.
He's on the spot.
Yeah, it's okay.
He feels embarrassed.
It's okay. But it's fine. It's okay. But yeah, so this is state of America, and even in that, us kind of unlearning that because, we get so tense about things and having to do things. Even some of that, like it's okay. See, it's because of the way that we live. We kind of feel like it's okay. So get up.
Latoya Moon said, "Tell him geography is hard. He's amazing."
I'm trying to think of
Some
stuff.
states.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're still stuck in it. That's what I'm saying. Calm down. It's all right.
It's okay. I put you on the spot. I won't put you on the spot again. Okay.
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 Yeah, just breathe in and out. It's all right. He's a perfectionist like his father, so he'll be fine. But at the end of the day, like I don't know, what was I saying? Oh, well, yeah. Even in the state of emergency, we're so used to having to be, what's the saying, twice as good to get half as much. That even letting somebody down, we feel like that slave mentality still. Like we didn't jump high enough when somebody said jump. And so it's okay. We have to remind ourselves, and we have to remind our children it's all right. Like they're in a system that says that they have to be better than everybody else just to be able to get increased. So when they let us down in the smallest way, so all these things are just, and really he didn't even let me down. Let me say that correctly, but I'm just saying how you feel. Sometimes it's like somebody lets you down. So, but I don't really have anything else to add. I don't know if you did. So we're in the state of emergency, but we're coming out and we're not emerging anymore. Once we get out of this mud we've been emerged in, it's time to wash ourselves off, become clean and become legal, and make sure that our children don't have to deal with the residue. They might have to know what we were in, but they don't ever have to experience it themselves. And we can build on that. So we thank you guys. We honor you. We appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for being on YouTube, on TikTok. This is recorded, so if you want to go over it again, you can. If you want to share this with your children, maybe they didn't get a chance to see it. Not this Saturday, which is the 14th, but next Saturday on January the 21st, 2023, in the year where we look beyond what we see. January 21st, we will have a watch party for the children for our SOC meeting. So we found some great stuff as far as things on the Bible. I would say possibly, depending on how your child flows, maybe even up to age 13 or so, but probably that's about, maybe 13, but depending on, your children, things like that, but all the way down even to the youngest of ages, we want to go ahead and show them some things as far as some things that Israel has been able to put out, some cartoons, them seeing themselves in the word, and some things that have been really nice for us to come upon. And we'd like to be able to share it as a family. So we won't have an SOC meeting this Saturday. We've had like 4 in a row anyway, so it's okay for us to take a break a little bit, but we'll make sure that we have another one on the 21st. And of course, adults are invited too. But if you'd like to invite children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, or just children that you might know of or whatever, and let their parents know about it, share the link with them. We'll be putting that link out very soon. The Google Calendar invite very soon. And we'd love for you guys to join us and watch along with young Master Solomon as we all participate together and learn more about this culture. So we thank you guys. We honor you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being on. Please check out my wife on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. You can check out Solomon at... what is it? I remember the 777 Soloface, SOLOFACE 777 on YouTube. If you like to go there, we're going to try and post some stuff soon, and that he's putting some stuff out there that children can watch and see somebody who's an Israelite trying to follow in his father's follow in his father's footsteps. So if you like to be able to watch that stuff, and see some things and support him as well as he starts growing and starts getting more into these things. He's been putting out some stuff, I think, for about a year and a half now on his channel. So we're excited as he continues to grow in that. And we appreciate you. Thank you for your time. So as always, well, for tonight, even this has been the Ofori family. We are over servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Until the next time, we have the privilege, opportunity, responsibility of being in front of you all again, which the honor of my and myself will have on Saturday for Shabbat Shalom service and the podcast at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until we have an opportunity to be before you again, please remember, as always, yourself, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be under it. Shalom. Peace. Thank you, family. Take care. You did a great work, sir. All right.